Okay, let's be real. I was always going to be gay. But watching Elizabeth Swann outsmart a feared pirate captain with an utterly condescending look on her face didn't exactly hurt. Films, TV, music, books, games, and pop culture in general have always been a cornerstone of LGBTQ+ community and identity, and it's these formative experiences of queerness that I'm going to be exploring in my new interview series. I'm going to be talking to a different queer person each episode about the media that has shaped them and their identity. Whether it's a serious discussion about the impact of seeing a gay kiss on screen for the first time, or a tongue-in-cheek thirsting over a handsome cartoon animal from our childhood, or even a more personal memory about the song that was playing in the car when they came out to their dad for the first time, I'm going to hear about it all. If you know any LGBTQ+ creators that you would love to see in this series, then please let me know in the comments. Without further ado, we have our first episode, so I'm going to put on the headphones because I am about to talk to the amazing content creator and activist, my friend, Annie Elainey. Annie, hello!
Hi!
For people who aren't familiar with who you are and what you do, could you just give a little introduction about kind of you and also the way you identify that might be relevant to what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, okay. I'm Annie Sagara, or Annie Elainey, as my channel is called, and my pronouns are she or they, or any and all pronouns I'll really respond to. I identify as queer and gender fluid, as well as disabled with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and Latinx.
When I came up with the idea for this, I had like a one-page little pitch that I was going to send to people who I wanted to be on and be interviewed. And then with you, I forgot. So I just sent you like, hey, do you want to do a thing? And you were like, yeah, let's do a thing. And then forgot to send you the actual detailed, like, you know, instructions of what to do. But you've picked up pretty quickly and sent over, I think, 5 different characters to me, which all, I'm really excited to talk about all of them. I think a lot of them are quite iconic queer type characters. So without further ado, I guess, who's the first kind of piece of pop culture that you want to talk about?
When you asked me this, I wasn't sure what exactly counted as iconic, because I never really felt like iconic to me meant that like everybody had a crush on them. But I don't know if people have the same crushes that I did, but my first one was definitely the evil queen from Snow White.
Amazing.
Mostly just I have memories of being a kid and being I don't know if titillated is the right word, but that seems to be it. Because of her freaking her cape twirl when she like went down the staircase. I was like, oh, I don't know, my heart stopped, and I was like, that was my first confusion of I don't know if I want to be her or be with her.
I was gonna say that's always an interesting one with these characters. Is it a character that you're drawn to because you are attracted to them, and it's that first element of kind of at the time, often when you're a kid, like this sort of innocent crush element, or like little heart putters or something like that? Or is it like, oh, I want to be this bitch, like this is like this aesthetic, this look, this vibe is what I want to be? Or like a mix of the both? Like sometimes it's hard to tell.
I mean, it's lasted. I still kind of have a crush on her to this day. And now my feelings are a little more affirmed. Now I'm like, yeah, I wish she would taught me. is the situation that I feel.
Well, what's so funny is we're friends. We've been on trips to Disney World a few times already with each other. The most recent one being cancelled due to current circumstances, unfortunately. I can only see you through a screen at the moment. But I remember you Disney bounding as the evil queen on that trip in just such an outfit. So, like, I'm gonna find a picture and like put it somewhere. For those who don't know, Disney bounding is because in the parks as an adult you can't actually dress as characters in case like kids mistake you for the characters, but you can kind of give little hints and nods to characters with like accessories or your color palette. And your evil queen Disney bound was iconic. It was amazing.
Thanks. Oh my gosh.
I've talked about it on my channel before, and I'm sure like we've probably discussed it at some point. The idea of like villains and queerness, of like, you know, Disney having a lot of quite queer coded villains, which Evil Queen isn't so much of an obvious example of, although it's still maybe a little bit there. What do you think about that? Like, I know a lot of queer people who actually feel quite an affinity with villainy in terms of how it's presented, because it's often in direct contrast to like heteronormativity and like the happily ever after of a man and a woman who are often very white, like coming together and going off into the sunset. Do you think that the idea of like villainy has been any part of that, looking into that particular, I guess, influence on your identity or the way you've thought about your identities?
That's how a lot of queer kids, they do feel represented by the villains in that way, because a lot of like the male villains are a little softer and sassier. I think for women and AFABs, like, or anyone that identifies with like femininity, like the women villainesses of Disney were also like, they're all very like strong and powerful. So those are both things that we coveted and that we were attracted to.
Yeah.
You know, so, like if you ask me like the kind of people that I'm typically drawn to, it is that, as people that I do see as like confident and strong and powerful. So like people like, I'm the big two that I'm thinking of right now are definitely the Evil Queen and Ursula, who are, you know, just these like confident, strong women. And I don't know, we definitely were drawn to that, not necessarily even romantically, sexually attracted to that, but drawn to it as something that we both, yes, wanted to be and wanted to be with.
And I think that I mean, Ursula is such a classic example because it's literally based on a drag queen, right? Based on Divine. So it's so obviously kind of drawing in and circling around queer culture in a really explicit way, as well as just like a way in which we kind of have interpreted it over the years. So, Evil Queen, number 1. Who is your second on your list of 5?
Oh my god! It was Robin Hood. Robin Hood is such a common one when people ask about like childhood crushes, like from all sexual orientations. It doesn't matter who you're attracted to, what gender you're attracted to. Robin Hood is on the list. And I think,
oh god,
I think that it has to do with like a couple of different things. I've tried to figure it out for the longest time. I think part of it is his kind of like androgynous nature, like the way he's drawn. He's also kind of like long and lanky physically.
Yeah.
So like he has like a body like Shane from the L Word, you know what I mean? Like just kind of like. And he does, I don't know, he did something that I've always found like aesthetically pleasing on people, which is like when he would like roll up his sleeves to get something done. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Can I just say as well, you just wrote down on the list you sent to me Robin Hood. I just assumed correctly it was the cartoon Fox Robin Hood and not any of the other versions of Robin Hood, of which there have been plenty. I just automatically was like, oh, the animal one, the cartoon animal. But you're absolutely right. I think there is something there, definitely.
He had sparkly, kind eyes.
He did. That's also true.
Robin
from the rich given to the poor.
Like about him. Yes, he was like he had that great combination of he was a good guy and a bad guy at the same time.
The stories and the characters that are in those films at such a formative and young age can really inform the way that you think about what is like a good person or a romantic person or an attractive kind of personality traits that you would have in a partner, whether that is like confidence or androgyny or things like that you can kind of pick those up even if you're younger and you're not entirely sure why you're picking up on these vibes, but you're like, oh yes, this is maybe something that's there.
That's basically what I'm finding out in this in this like format of figuring out what my childhood crushes were on fictional characters, is that as an adult now, I'm like, oh, it's these elements that I was like looking at in these characters. Because like, to clarify, I don't have crushes on animals or foxes.
It's the tiny little paws. Yeah, no, but like that's something that I think is across all, like as you said, like across all sexualities. it just seems like there are these particular characters that just crop up. How about number 3? What's the third one on the list?
Katie, the bassist from School of Rock.
Okay, tell me about that. We've got our first non-cartoon based character.
I think for the rest of my list is not cartoons. So Katie, the bassist, School of Rock, first of all, I watched that thing so many times. How old must I have been? Between like 10 to 12. And I don't know. I'm sad to say that like some of these are just gonna be purely aesthetic crushes. She was in a band. She had gorgeous dark hair and dark eyes. Like I was just like, wow. This was like probably the first time I was, wow, this is an age appropriate crush for me. Maybe we can be in love and be together in the future.
Oh, that's so sweet. Do you remember thinking of it consciously as a crush where you were like, oh, what if we were in a relationship kind of crush? Like, oh, I can imagine us holding hands. Or was that something that you've looked at afterwards and been like, oh, that was probably what I was thinking or how I might have thought about it at the time? Like, were you really conscious at that age of like, oh yes, this is someone I could date. That would be so cute.
Oh no, I wish. I was I was definitely in this stage of like, I just want to be really like great friends with her. Yeah, ages 10 to 12, I was like, I don't know if I want to be her or just like be her best friend. I just want like proximity. I don't know what I want. And it wasn't until like years later I was like, oh, yeah. Definitely.
Figured it out now.
Wanted to have like a 10-year-old to 12-year-old girlfriend situation. Yeah, I mean, did you know the actress is queer now? That's
No. It's all Matilda as well. It's all of these like cute characters from when we were younger that we kind of wish we could hold hands with. They're all turning out to be queer, which I fully am in support of.
So I was like, wow, there's actually a chance. It should be interesting what happens now.
I'll send this to her. Do you feel like you kind of talked before about the idea of like the evil queen is still a thing that you can think about now? Do you think that same kind of character, if you were to have a character in a show about someone in their 20s who was in a band, is that still something that you vibe with, or do you think that you've kind of had these different phases or periods of kind of crushing on different types of personality?
Absolutely, I crush on people who are in a band.
Going strong,
freaking-lutely. I think she was like, I don't know, she was the one like big musician. There was a lot of vocalists in the School of Rock band, and it's so funny for me, like vocalists, no offense to them, are a little boring because I was a vocalist.
I was gonna say, don't you sing?
Right. I'm like, I already know how it's done. I can do it myself. I think I always kind of, I'm attracted to things that are a weird balance yet equal. And by equal, I mean, in this scenario, when it comes to music, I'm like, okay, the equality part is we're both in the music field, but then I want balance. Like if I'm a vocalist, then you do something different. So that way it kind of like meshes together.
Just jam together.
So that is
makes beautiful music together.
Yeah, so that's the element I was looking at, was like, ooh, that's hot because I'm not familiar with that instrument. So
we're getting deep into your psyche now.
I love it. I love it so much.
How about number 4 then? This is another real life person on the list.
Yes, it's a big one. It's Linda Cardinale from Scooby-Doo playing Velma.
Tell me the story. What's happening here?
I don't know. I don't know. You gotta put me on a couch, Dr. Rowan. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously she's freaking cute. Obviously she's super smart. I don't know. It's like the full package. She's aesthetically gorgeous. She's also really the smart nerdy character. And And I don't know, like, I don't know who's going to argue with me that those things are not attractive in a character.
What's really interesting is at various points that character has been, I feel like it's one of those sort of urban myth internet rumors about how far her and Daphne are meant to be together in the series, and like original scripts that then got edited. And I feel like there's a lot of sort of internet urban legends around that in the queer community, around the idea of that her and Daphne were meant to be like roommates and all that kind of stuff. And I see that. I feel like her and Daphne would make a very cute couple.
Yes, I think that'd be really cute.
Totally vibe.
Like anything sapphic, I thought that on top of everything else, I can't express what it was from the movie, but she did have some kind of sapphic vibe about her, to my interpretation. I don't know if that's wishful thinking, or if it's apparently it's an entire community of people who are like, yeah, Velma definitely has sapphic vibes.
When you were that age, I have no concept of when that Scooby-Doo movie came out. I don't know why I would. But was that, again, something that you weren't quite conscious of, like, why you were drawn to her? At that point, were you like, oh, this is a crush. This is how I am feeling?
No. Let me actually double check the date, because I think I was around, like, 12 when that happened, too. No, actually, I spent a long time not knowing that I was experiencing crushes on women for the longest time. Why can't I get 2002. Yeah, I was 12 years old. I was just experiencing crushes, and now that I'm adult, I can acknowledge and be like, yeah, that's what that was. But I think even throughout high school, the idea of being attracted to women was so kind of impossible because of my surroundings and my environment growing up, that I prefer to explore, swim around with the idea of possibly being asexual than being attracted to women. I was like, well, because I understood enough that I wasn't experiencing attraction to men, and I would like, I would do the thing. I learned now as an adult that it's not so uncommon to kind of like fixate and crush on one guy that you know is not interested in you, so that you can say, the reason I'm single is because that person doesn't like me and I'm in love with them, and then that's it. So so I would do that like every year. I'd be like, this is the person, and if they don't want me, I'm by myself. That's it. And that was the way to keep myself safe, with like to keep myself from suspicion of being queer. And then, but inside, internally, my mind was thinking, maybe I'm asexual because I'm not attracted to men. And it wasn't until years later I was like, oh, yeah, that's what was happening the whole time.
There's that other option. Yeah, that checks out. How about the last of your five? Bring us home with the final choice.
Christina Ricci and Now and Then, because she was the tomboy, and tomboys are always reading a little queer, and I definitely had a very firm, like, feet planted in the ground, like, tomboy period as a kid, where, I don't know, it was very... I don't know. I never know if that tomboy period was internalized misogyny or just trying to like figure myself out, because a lot of it, when I hear myself like in my memories, just sounds like internalized misogyny. I remember like screaming, I hate pink and I hate dresses and blah 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 and all this stuff, and it's difficult to tell if I changed over time or if that was truthful. It didn't feel like a lie when I said it. So it's possible that, you know, I just like changed. But that was the Christina Ricci character for me, like, because she was very similar. She was very much like anti-femininity, not participating it, but like very almost disgusted by it, with the implication that she would have to perform it for any reason.
It's interesting in terms of the previous choices. especially the ones that you're like, do I want to be them? Do I want them? Have you felt like any of them have fed into the gender aspect of your identity at all? Or is it they're kind of separate kind of elements?
That would be the closest, would be Christina Ricci's character in Now and Then. It's really hard to feel represented in that way.
But the thing is, formative, I think especially for queer people, doesn't have to mean childhood. It can mean teenagehood. It can mean later than that, because I think people, no matter where they come out, are having to unlearn cisnormativity and heteronormativity and then relearn who they are before they can then progress into having the sort of relationships that a lot of cis and heterosexual people kind of just fall into, because they're not having to do that extra work in between. So absolutely, I think you can have the same kind of like awakening crushes or kind of thoughts when you're in your late teens that some straight people might be having when they're kind of first starting to go through puberty. I think that makes total sense.
Yep. I was like singing hallelujah in my brain the entire time you're talking. Now that I think about it, and I've talked about it on social media a couple times this period of lockdown and quarantine, was a movie called Just One of the Guys from the 80s. She was a high school student who was a writer and felt that because of sexism she didn't get the job that she wanted as a writer, or some kind of award or something. So she decides to go to a different high school as a boy to attempt turning in the same essay as a boy. And comedically enough, she did it right away, and it still wasn't good enough. So then, it turns into a story about this experience of gender swapping herself and what she learns from the situation. But my experience as a viewer, as a queer viewer, and as a gender fluid viewer, I was like obsessed and thrilled at what she had done in regards to her presentation. And as a teenager, I was like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be able to like present really feminine one day and then present more masculine another day. And I also like envied, that was the first time I also acknowledged this like white, slender, androgynous idea of gender fluidity too. Because as a like more like a person with like softer features and like curvier body and things like that, it's actually not even easy to shop for the kind of clothes that I would want, to be more neutral or to get more like masculine clothing or anything like that. I kind of like I'm forced into a lot of feminine fashion just because of like the body type that I have. So that movie like really exploded my brain, mostly that character. And again, that character, shoot, I don't even remember her name because it's bad because her name is not even the point for me. Her name is not even the point. For me, it was just like, this is the mold for like what I want to be when I grow up. And at the same time, yes, it's like, the same old question. I don't know how many times we're gonna say it. Be her or be with her. We'll never know. Now
that we've kind of done you've taken me through the full spectrum of all of these kind of formative queer experiences. I'm gonna check exactly what I called it. You need to pick one quote or moment or scene or gesture or something to put into the, what did I call it? Rowan Ellis Queer Agenda Archive. So that could be anything from the sleeve roll of Robin Hood to the swish of the Evil Queen's cape, just something from one of these characters that you want to be locked into the archive of the queer agenda for all time.
I think for me it's gonna have to be the Evil Queen's cape twirl down the staircase.
Beautiful. I'm gonna find some footage of that and put that here so everyone is fully aware of what we're talking about when we mention this cape twirl. Amazing, thank you so much for watching, and Annie, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to tell everyone where they can find you on the internet if they are so inclined?
Yes, I am all over the internet as Annie Elainey. So that's Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok now, and also here on YouTube.
Thank you again so much for watching. If you'd like to help support me make videos like this, then I'm going to leave a link to my Patreon below, along with all my social media. And of course, in the comments, let me know if there's anyone that you want to see on this series, or if you have some moments of pop culture that have been formative in your life. I would love to hear about them. Until I see you next time, bye.